I'm really glad you brought that up, because there is a tremendous amount of confusion about, a lot of people think doctors are there to help them, and other people are finding out that, from friends that, die from, they removed the kidney from the wrong person, or that movie Coma, or like what was that movie with Harrison Ford in Chicago where he was in the train wreck?
The Fugitive?
Yeah, The Fugitive. I mean that's true. So there's so many people that are. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to defend the MD, because, to be honest, very many of those people really, really did go to school to want to help people. I'm not going to defend the institution, the way medicine is practiced in the United States, as a corporate structure, which is what it is. The Marshfield Clinic used to be doctor-owned. It isn't anymore. Or there might be a few of those doctors left around. I don't know. It was founded so long ago. I'm not sure if they've all passed on or what. My friend, Dr. Bob, down in the Milwaukee area, ran one of the last, or didn't run. He worked for one of the last doctor-owned healthcare facilities till it got bought out by Aurora Healthcare, a giant conglomerate, or moderately giant.
Dr. Wojo and Dr. Wojo in Stevens Point?
No, I don't.
He's on the board of directors over there.
Okay.
He's one of the most humanitarian persons you could ever meet, and he's on the board. And he actually travels all over the state of Wisconsin helping people, and he gives us our flight physicals for our pilot's license and stuff.
Oh, great!
He still does that just as a service to people.
Yeah, I'm going to El Salvador in the second week of February on a mission trip, and I'm on the medical team. And there's a Dr. Hegeman who works, I believe, in emergency medicine at the Marshfield Clinic. This is something like his 8th mission trip. He pays for it himself. His family's going, his wife's going, his son's going. These are people who really, really care about helping people. But when you get shoved into this corporation, which is what medicine is, your voice isn't always heard. And you are told, for instance, let's get back to those statins. If they don't recommend them and it's not in your chart that they recommended you go on them, that doctor can get fired, because that is part of the corporate policy. That has nothing to do with the practice of medicine. That is a corporate policy. So,
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think there are so many doctors that want to help people. I think they're doing everything in their power to help people based on what they've been taught.
And
they're very sincere, and I think I agree with you. They're absolutely wonderful.
Yep. And you know what? There are some bad doctors out there. There are some bad acupuncturists out there. There are some bad ditch diggers out there. We're all human beings. And in human beings, guess what? We're fallible. We can make mistakes. We do our very best not to, most of us. But are there going to be some people out there that don't fall into that category, that practice medicine or, like I said, dig ditches? Yeah, of course there are, because there are those kinds of people in the human race.
Well, Dr. Jen, the reason I wanted to bring up the part about confusion, there's a lot of confusion out there, about, should I do this and should I do that? And there's one thing I'd like to share with you that we do, and what it is we have connection to the Real Guides and on the real side of life. And what people can do is it's a song that they sing, and you can sing it. It's called we call it the new you sound, and you sing it like new you. You ever heard of that? You ever heard that before?
It sounds very Tibetan.
Well, in a way it is, because a lot of these Real Guides did a lot of teaching over in Tibet. And as a matter of fact, there's temples over there. Yep. And what it is that when you sing that, like if you show intent, like do it for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night, it shows the Real Guides who are operating in and out of creation, also on the real, what we call the real side, they will hear you singing that new you, and they will become attentive to you. And if you have any questions or any doubts about any medical treatment or any fact of life, you can ask them for an answer to show you, where you need to go, what the real answer is, what the truth is, what don't I know, and can you show me what I need to know? And they will show you in your dream state, or later on they will give you hints during your waking daily activities. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful service that they provide for mankind. So I just wanted to share that. And Sandy has a wonderful way of singing it too. I'd like her to sing it if she can.
Well, he sang it just fine. It's New You. Like, hold out the last, but you can sing it in any way you want. We have I've heard it many different ways with different notes. New you, new you, etc. So that's what we do. We sing it 15 minutes in the morning, right after we wake up, and 15 minutes at night before you go to sleep.
Oh, that's very neat. Ultimately, you had the right exact analogy with the music is harmonics. I have a degree in quantum physics. Everything is a vibration. There's a vibration, and then you hear about quantum medicine and such. And now I'm a very scientific-based acupuncturist, but ultimately, our bodies are atoms that vibrate at frequencies because of the electron shells and such. And the way the Rife machine works, for example, is there's a frequency to that disease state, and if you use an opposing frequency sine wave and you hit it, the math essentially makes both those sine waves become a straight line, or a nil point, where neither one exists anymore. Neither the treating frequency nor the disease frequency. Ultimately, according to quantum physics, everything comes down to that, including light.
Yes. Back in the day, Pythagoras, he had a big complex, and he had rooms. And the diseased person, whether they had an emotional, mental, or a physical problem, he would put the person in the room and then assign a musician with the correct music to balance out what was wrong with them. So it's been used a long time, but a lot of people don't know. It's still used today, too.
In China, there's music therapy. You can Google Zen harmonies for healing and all sorts of things like that. It still exists even within our field.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I come from a music background. I sang a lot. I sang in symphonies. I've been musicals, operas, etc. But when you mentioned, or Bob mentioned, both of you mentioned that the real experience. I'll cite an example. If I was singing with the symphony chorus, we had a 200-piece orchestra in front of us, and I actually stood behind the kettle drums and the French horns, kind of in between them, and there is nothing like that type of music when it's live versus a CD. I mean, there's nothing like it.
And you know by what it does to you. I mean, my own personal example, one of my favorite artists is Enya.
Oh, yes, Enya. Mm-hmm.
She gives me chills on CD. I had the privilege of seeing her in person once with an orchestra, or at least an orchestral arrangement.
Yes.
It did more than give me chills. It completely changed the inner workings of my person at that point. I was transported, like you said. I was no longer really there. I was being carried along by those harmonies. It's a very surreal but wonderful experience to listen to good music that way. And it doesn't have to be Enya. I also saw Metallica perform with an orchestra. It was just as amazing. Your music taste, it varies, and I may not like, I like Haydn. He's kind of the hard rock of composers. I like Yo-Yo Ma. Man, listen to Yo-Yo Ma's cello. It darn near is so good it almost makes me pass out.
I know the feeling well.
Those haunting tones he creates with that cello, and anyone who listens to him or has seen some of the Asian movies, even American movies he's done soundtracks for, what you get on that soundtrack is amazing enough, but then to actually sit in a room with him doing it, it's otherworldly. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Wagner and Parsifal?
Of course I am. Die Valkyrie.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm German. I'm very familiar with Wagner.
Oh, very good. That's good. Is that what it is?
Jawohl, and that's about the extent of my German. I can speak Mandarin pretty well, but my German is horrific.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I never picked it up either. And I don't know anything I should say about Mandarin. But it's
I've spoken some of it.
Well, this music and it can influence society. I know back in the day of Paul Twitchell, who had started the corporation of Eckankar, which it no longer really is the same since he passed away. But he wrote a little book called Eckan Music, and in there he cites a lot of examples, and one of them was the Galloping Polka by Stravinsky. He said anybody who listens to that behind closed doors will eventually go insane. It is so discordant and breaks up the body, the bodies. We have more than one body. We have the physical, the astral, the causal, mental, etheric, and then finally who you truly are on the real side. But don't ever listen to it. It said when discordant music is played in a society, society goes down along with the music. And it's the masters of music, Wagner and Beethoven and Bach and Mozart and all the classics is what really heals the body. And as you said, it's quite an experience. I've had experiences where I have dreamt of Luciano Pavarotti
he's amazing.
Singing in front of me. This is in a dream. And it was just as real as if you would sit in the audience. It was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the Four Tenors and some others. Yeah. And music is sometimes created as a reaction to what's going on in society, and sometimes it's created as an influence. Look at the old folk musicians. Look at some of the 60s music, Dylan. I love Dylan's musical writings. I don't prefer to listen to him sing, but just when he writes. It's a poetry, essentially. It's a different art. He's written some of the greatest songs that people love that he's not performing, too, Or, who else does a lot of that? On the country side of things, Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson have written more music than you probably even know about because they don't just write country.
Probably. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, people don't know a lot about Chris Christopherson anymore because he faded from the movie limelight. But he's written a lot of music and been in production and all sorts of things.
Okay. I'll have to look that one up, too. We are kind of running out of time here, and I would like to open the lines, if that's okay with you, Dr. John, to see if anybody has any questions for you.
Yeah,
or
I would be more than happy to do that.
Say something. Just feel free to speak. Who's ever on, if you have some questions.
Yes. Hi, Dr. John. This is Val from Huntington Beach, California.
Hello.
It's great show. Thanks, Bob and Sandy. It's like being in your living room and you have a guest over for coffee or something. It's very, very nice show today. Dr. John, I've got some experience in martial arts too, namely Sistema. It's a Russian system. And
the system. Yes, I know a Sistema and Sambo a little bit.
Okay. So you know that a lot of their focus is on recovery. So one of the things I've been doing is to avoid injuries and just get into that place where it's just bad for your body actually. So recovery, especially for the soldiers, is important for them to come back from the field and be able to get a massage or just heal their wounds somehow psychologically as well as physically. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I do with that is the dowsing, which is popular with Systema. It's the cold water dowsing where in the morning I go and dump 2 5-gallon buckets of water over me to boost my immune system, kind of shock the system, bring the core heat up, the temperature up to kill any virus and bacteria. It's been good. So I was wondering if, along the lines of cold water therapy, do you do any kind of ice acupressure at all, or do you have any experience with that? Because I'm dealing with some prostate issues.
Yeah,
and I wonder if you could help in any way.
Or cold systemics are like when they use ice baths in sports medicine. That ice is simply there as a method of numbing those people at that point, and it does create some healing. But the kind of healing you're getting from the dowsing or the kind you get like when you walk out of a sauna in the mountains, that's a little different. Ice for acute injuries is great, but the doctor, and I can't remember his name, who coined the phrase rest, ice, compression, and elevation, has since actually retracted both the rest and the ice, except in acute states. So in other words, you just turn your ankle, you darn well want to ice that thing. However, if you have an old chronic injury and you ice it, it feels good, but now you've just tightened up that tissue that was already tight, and you've decreased the blood supply that needs to get in the tissue to heal it. So you both slow down the healing.
Dr. John, we're running out of time. We got about 20 seconds. Tell us who you are and where to reach you one more time, and then the show's gonna be over. And thank you so much for being on.
Thanks,
You're
Doctor.
welcome. Dr. John Schneindl, Marshfield Acupuncture, 715-323-0548, or Marshfield Acupuncture Facebook page or a website. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions that you send my way.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. John. It's been wonderful hearing from you, and maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Thank you. It was great. I love your show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye now.